Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bait and I make plans for 7:45 and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Good evening, folks. And if any of you aren't aware, the gentleman at the end is, of course, he is the better looking of the two Scotts. He's my brother from another mother to the south, Scott Martin. And I want to thank him for doing that, as well as all of you for joining us today, which, if you live in Ontario, has been one of those Mondays. I hope none of you are stuck on the highways right now, because some of our highways are a mess out this way. But if you are, I want to bid you a hello and stay safe, stay warm. Hopefully you filled up before you ventured out on the highway. But if you are watching from one of the 400 series highways, give us a thumbs up. I'd be interested to see how many of you are actually out on the roads. For the rest of you who are joining us right now, it's beautiful to see you. Not to mention the fact it was beautiful to see you guys out fishing. So many of you are out on the weekend, enjoying some hard water action, hooking some incredible fish. And I know, God bless Walter and Steve, they'll be getting to your edits if, in fact, you've shared them to our inbox or you're what I would consider a regular at CFN. But yeah, there was some unbelievable fish caught and some great memories, not to mention the memories of folks getting together, building community, one angler at a time. That's what we do here at CFN. Unfortunately, because of what's going on in the world when it comes to COVID, we can't do that, at least out this way. We're going to be talking a little bit about what's going to be going out in Saskatchewan. If you don't know, in fact, why don't I just bring it up now and I can share it. That is the, I can't read it because let me take my, Canarsie CFN Ice Jam. It is going to be going February 5th and 6th. As of right now, the numbers out that way are a little bit different here in Ontario. So I want to say it's on, but everything's tentative. Unfortunately, we had to postpone our event here in Ontario because the numbers are just trending in the wrong direction. And it just was not the right thing to do. But out in Saskatchewan, it's a little bit different. So fingers crossed, our good folks out in our Saskatchewan chapter are able to get together. Obviously, they're going to be doing their social distancing and what have you. Anybody who is from a household will be in the same hut. They won't be sharing huts. So there's a lot of protocols involved. We're going to have Walter on as the event draws closer. We'll have Walter on to talk a little bit more about it. But in the meantime, Rob Alspatch or our good friend Walter, who heads up our Saskatchewan chapter, reach out to them if you want to know a little bit more about it. But as I said, right now, it sounds super intriguing. I hope, God willing, that we're able to have it and see it, because it's going to be so nice to be able to live vicariously through our folks out in Saskatchewan when it comes to getting together, meet and greets, building our community, you name it. But some great things that are in store for that event. And if you want to know more, talk to Walter. Good to see you, Sally. Nice to see you, Lloyd. Trisha's in the house. Eve, yeah, baby. Jeremy, speaking of catching fish, Jeremy was out catching some toothy critters. Curtis had the family out as well. Steve Shaw's been busy shoveling driveways. Terry Snyder, I hope you found your cat. Or at least you were able to dig out your cat. MJ, how you doing? Nice to see you. Jay DeLuz, yes, sir. Kevin C's in the house. Oh, this is great to see. Barry's with us. Jeanette's with us. K-Dog, happy Monday indeed. Richard Dunlop's in the house. Mike Howard is joining us. Chris Dillon, nice to see you. Barry, Sarah Jickerson, always a pleasure to see our lovely Sarah from down in Windsor. Kelty's in the house. Nice to see you, Kelty. Todd, hello to you. Yvonne is with us. And, of course, there's a reminder that there's going to be a ladies' night coming up on, yes, Yvonne, I have forgotten. I believe it's the 24th. I will have to verify. I don't know if it's, or maybe it is the 31st. Yvonne, help me out. Post it in the comments. There's so many dates rumbling around in this empty head of mine. I'm not sure if it's the 31st or the 24th, but Yvonne is about to tell you. Ashley is going to be joining us. And I don't want to say her last name because I'm going to butcher it, but Casperin, I believe is how you spell it. And she is extremely active on social media. Holy smokes. In regards to catching fish, that girl is out each and every day hooking something. And so glad she's posting it to our social media platforms because we all live vicariously through those who can do that. 31st. Thank you, Yvonne. I appreciate that. So join us. That'll be ladies' night. For the month of January, Yvonne is going to have Ashley Casperin on. She's going to be discussing tips, tricks, and techniques because, let's face it, she knows. She catches a lot of fish. Obviously, the snowstorm, as I mentioned at the top, I hope everybody's safe. If there's anything I can help, because it's not often, and I believe this is the second most snow we have received on record since they've been keeping records. We don't normally get this amount of snow. To you folks to the north, Barry and Sally, or anybody else watching to our north, Sean Forte, you folks up in Timmins, what heavy snow is. We don't necessarily see it. Rob Nickerson, out your way out in the east, what a good dump of snow. In the GTA, we just don't get 40 to 50 centimeters of snow. It just doesn't happen. So if there's anything I can advise all of you to do, take a second, make sure, go outside and make sure all your vents are clear for your furnaces. If you're going to get carbon monoxide poisoning, tonight's the night. That's when it's going to happen. When we don't think, and snow drifts with that wind blowing around, just keep that in mind. Make sure you've got your carbon monoxide detectors, but make sure all your vents are cleared so that your furnaces run properly, and we don't have to make that horrible announcement that we've lost one of our community because of it. So stay safe. As I said, if you're watching out on the highways, God bless you, and hopefully you get off sometime soon. We have Mike Consul, who's going to be joining us right now to discuss the Winter Fish Fest as well as our hoodies. So take it away, Mike. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Look at this, Scottie. Bunch of people have ordering now. I'm just letting you know that we are going to be closing the orders in 2 weeks. So that's January 31st. So we got to put the orders in because we want to make sure everyone has them for the Spring Fish Fest. So if you share my screen, Scottie, this is how you order. All you got to do is go to cfnfishoff.com. There you will see order your CFN Fish Off hoodie. Just click that and you'll see that picture. And I believe you have that picture that we could blow up, Scottie. But just click order here and there you go. A couple of things I did want to show you with regards to that, because people are asking. It's not a print. This graphic here is put directly into the fibers of the hoodie. So however long this garment lasts, that's how long all these graphics will last on the hoodie, because it cannot peel, you cannot scratch it, it won't fade. It's like Scottie's jersey. All the graphics are embedded directly into the fibers of the garment. And Scottie was saying it's more like a jacket, not like a hood. And one of those reasons is because there's a little liner inside. So it's very soft and awesome to wear. So January 31st, that's when we're going to close orders, and then we're going to send it all to the manufacturer to make them. So let us know. One more thing I want to say about that is some people have multiple orders because it's going to the same household. The shipping cost will be different, of course. If it's all going to the same place, it won't be that single shipping cost. We could bundle them together, but we'll have to go to Canada Post to see what that cost is. So definitely it'll be different. But if you were partnering up with someone or you have more than one order, just contact me and then we can work it out. So that's the hoodies. Also, any questions on your end, Scottie, about the hoodies?
The only question is, some folks have said that the order form wasn't exactly the easiest to fill out.
Now it is.
You've already rectified the direct deposit. So some folks were having a hard time deciphering what passcode to put in there or password to add. And that's all been rectified. As I said, guys, we learn as we go, and we listen to you folks. And thanks so much for all of you who reached out to me, as well as Mike, to make it a better and more seamless transition. So we really appreciate all your positive feedback.
Yep, it should take 2 minutes to place the order. Just click, 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 and away you go. Same with the Winter Fish Fest. So if you want to register for the Winter Fish Fest, all you got to do is go to cfnfishoff.com. You'll see the Winter Fish Fest logo right there. And then 3 easy steps. And it's basically going to the Anglers Atlas website. There you got to do 2 things. 1, you're going to create an account. And then 2, you are going to sign up for a tournament. So if you go to tournaments right here, and you'll see that there's a bunch running. A lot of them are paid. So the best one to enter, of course, is the CFN Winter Fish Fest. It's free with a whole bunch of prizes from our amazing sponsors. And you see there's a bunch of people that have already registered. Jeremy is there, Chris, Renee, Jason, Shane, Richard, Chase, and there's a whole bunch of them. I can't scroll all the way down, but very easy. So just go to the CFN Fish Off website and register. Now, here's the thing. Let's say you don't register. February 1st comes along. You catch a fish. The registration doesn't close. So let's say you catch a fish on February 10th. You can still submit that fish. You just have to register prior to submitting. The best thing to do is register now before February 1st or before you go out fishing. So just make sure you register before you go out fishing so that you can enter your fish on the app.
Awesome, Mike. Always informative. And the best part about it, man, you are quick.
Well, I'm the warm-up. We have the real guest coming up. So have a great show, everyone. Definitely message me. And I get messages all the time about questions, whether about the Winter Fish Fest or whether it's about the hoodies. And I love people just messaging me saying, Happy New Year, or what's your latest fish? Any sort of conversation, relationship, interaction, always open to that as well. So thanks for being such an amazing community.
Right on, Mike. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, dude. And if anybody has any questions, as Mike mentioned, about the Winter Fish Fest or the hoodies, make sure you direct them to Mike. As busy as he is, he will get to you. I promise you that. Right on,
Scottie. Thanks, everyone.
All the best, bud. Right on. And I have to find a way to get that out. I can't seem to scroll down. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. All right. Moving right along. Our good friends over at Lake Simcoe Ice Fishing have joined us in a a giveaway, a contest giveaway, and they are growing insurmountable. I tell you, that little group has grown big time, and they are currently right now, I think they're over 9,000 members. But Peter Young, big shout out to Peter Young. He's reached out to us and said, listen, we want to enjoy CFN in one of our contests. So they have done so, and I can't thank them enough for that. As I mentioned, it is the Lake Simcoe Ice Fishing website. As I said, all of the requirements in terms of applying, and I'm sorry, I'm there it is. Okay. So yeah, it's an 8,800 member giveaway. They are including CFN. Obviously, the winner, as Peter has mentioned, will be a lucky lady. but I will make sure that I will include some bait to go outdoor flavors with that prize pack. It's they've got so much going on here in terms of giveaways. Holy smokes, man. But it's a CFN mystery prize pack, ladies only. And how you qualify is right here. Contest rules: must be a member of Lake Simcoe Ice Fishing, as well as the CFN Fish Off. Like and follow these Facebook pages. These are their incredible sponsors for that prize pack. Basically, all you got to do is like, share the contest, and tag 4 of your fishing buddies or friends. And it's unlimited entries. That's the best part. Contest ends January 20th. So make sure that, and the winners will be announced at 7 p.m. on that very same day. So as I said, make sure you like, share, and do everything needed in order to qualify. Can't say enough about the Lake Simcoe Ice Fishing Group for including us in this. And it's a great opportunity. Fantastic opportunity. So stay tuned. We will be probably providing you more information in regards to it. We might even have Peter on here himself to discuss it perhaps next week to find out who won, who qualified, and what they have upcoming. Because as I said, it's the little group that has grown very, very quickly. Also, this is exciting. Cameron Tate's going to be joining us this Thursday, 6 o'clock our time, 7 o'clock Central Time. He's going to be discussing his article in the latest In Fisherman magazine. Very, very cool that they included his piece about the 5 stoves. So basically, he goes through the pros and cons of these portable fireplaces for you, not only to provide yourself some heat, but also how to cook. And of course, Cameron, when it comes to stoves, cooking, who knows it best? Obviously, it's Cameron. But he's very, very, very busy, but he's taking out some time this Thursday to join us. As I said, 6 p.m. our time, 7 p.m. Central Time, and there is a giveaway. So one of the stoves, I'm not 100% sure if it's one of the stoves that is listed in the 5 in Fisherman, but I do know that he is giving away a stove. So stay tuned this Thursday. As I said, 6 our time, 7 theirs, and it's going to be an informative show. If with the price of firewood and everything else, these stoves will speak to your needs. And instead of setting up a great big campfire, which sometimes isn't the most economical thing to do, maybe you just want a quick hot meal. These stoves provide you that ability. And of course, Cameron's going to walk us through it and give us all the details on what we should know, what we should stay away from, and what is the best value for the price. So yes, lots and lots and lots of things going on. As I mentioned, Canarsie Lake is our ice jam. It's tentative. We might be having a meet and greet, fingers crossed, here in Ontario, but the way the numbers are trending, and I can't thank Jen Harlow enough for setting it up. I feel bad that we had to postpone it, but it was just the right thing to do. Of course, our CFN retreat is going to be happening again in August. I should probably reach out to Doris and Warren to find out the exact week we're going to be doing it, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same week as we did last week. We will get those dates set up for you. I believe we're half booked right now, but we'd love to see it, CFN retreat. There is a Saskatchewan retreat as well at Jan Lake Lodge. I believe that's full. I believe she is jam-packed. So again, fingers crossed, everything simmers down when it comes to COVID, and we'll be allowed to do what we do best, which is, as I said, building our community one angler at a time. In the meantime, I think it's time to get to our panel, and I can't think of a better way than this word from our sponsor. There he is, the man, the legend, the one and only,
My
Mr.
signals for
Fluff.
snow plows.
Mr. Fluff. How you doing, Mr. Fluff?
What's going on?
Good to see you, Jim. I tell you, what a whopping of snow we received today. Holy
Yeah, I just
smoke.
watched on the news. Ottawa had at the airport, they reported 47 centimeters. We were 41 here. Plus, the other thing, too, is that there's no snow on the roofs or in the trees or anything, eh? So it probably seems like there's a lot more on the ground because it blows out.
Well, and this is the thing, like, especially down this way, I know folks to our north, folks to our west, folks to our east who deal with these snow events all the time, they're used to it. But again, being in the gas industry as I am, it's these kind of anomalies that we really fear because folks forget about their vents, right? They
First thing I did today was the young lad is home for a couple of days, and he shoveled the back steps for Buddy, and I peeked out the window and I could see the vent was open. The way it's tucked in here, I don't think it could ever get covered, but I check anyway because something like this happens. You'll say it only happens once every 10 years or something, but then maybe your vent plugs once every 10 years, and it's the night that it gets you. It's the old nothing's ever happened until it happens. So
100%. Now, Jim, I know Mike Howard mentioned it, and I do believe that they're dealing from what Mark Elbeck said. Sounds like a sled went through Lake Simcoe. This is my concern. When we have these kind of snow events, we're not used to it. And you know what? There's enough hazards out in the hard water as there is. But a lot of things that we would normally see without the snow, we can't now. And you were talking just before we went live at the actual amount of weight that this snow that the ice has to carry when it comes to the snow that has fallen. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that we should be wary of now that we have all this.
If you look at a lake like Lake Simcoe that so many people are familiar with, you add a foot of snow across Lake Simcoe. What do you think that weighs? It's like you couldn't say the number. Like I would have to have stayed in school longer.
Well, it's a few. Let's just say it's a few Jim and Scotties.
Yeah. Oh, few. Yeah, a couple dozen maybe. The holidays caught up to me. This is not good. No, but you just have to pay more attention. You have to look around. The water's coming on the ice, and when the ice isn't thick yet, it'll get soft really quick when it's sitting soaked in water. Now the insulation factor, as we've talked about before, I don't believe it from my experience to be quite the factor that it used to be, because it's one of those things. We don't get as much snow now, so I think the ice it seems to me, fishing now through the ice always seems to be really hard, where it didn't, because we always used to have like 30 inches of snow on the ice. The ice would be 35 inches thick, and it was crunchy and hard and everything else, But once it was frozen, that's it. It was frozen for the year, and it's not like that now. Because I remember, I think I related this to you before, being on an ice road on Bay Rideau, and parking on the road, drilling a couple of holes in a row, like maybe 50 feet apart, and I forget what the ice was. Let's just say 10 inches. It was probably like 25 or 30, but let's just say 10. Then I walked about 100 feet in the snow, up to my knees, up to my thighs, swished the snow out of the way, drilled some holes, and it was like 9.5.
Yeah.
So it was 9 inches. It's a little bit, but it's not that huge thing that people think that it is. But it is a factor, because anytime you lay something down on top of something, but once it all gets really firmed up, because, I remember coming back. I always used to go ice fishing after the Toronto Sportsman Show. And I would go like every day for a week when I got back. And it was not unusual, even with the extension on the auger, to have to go find a different spot to be able to get through.
Right.
And now you don't even see a store near here now selling extensions, like around Ottawa or that area.
Right.
They still get good ice, but things are really different, and you really need to pay attention to it. Like if you're new to ice fishing or newer, you don't remember that time, so you're just basing on what you know now, and you got to be a little more careful now. You just have to really, really be careful. Just like this thing we were watching, it was the lead story on the news. The lady in the yellow car, she drove apparently for miles on the river. there's people posted cameras and everything, and she's standing on top of it, taking a picture of herself. I fished those pilings for muskies that set this big cement pilings from the old bridge. I won't say which one. No, there's if you fish around them, you can always catch some muskies around them, or usually anyway, see one or something. But man, oh man, people doing things like that. And, she's going to be charged.
And as I said, when you guys posted on our group chat, right away, I'm thinking, I saw the picture of her taking a selfie standing on the back of her car, and I'm thinking, okay, was her boyfriend unfaithful to her on the weekend? Like, this girl is way, way too calm. Like, it's almost as if she meant to do this.
And that's a Subaru.
Yes.
And then when she's interviewed coming off the ice, and she says, "Oh, I'd do it again." Like, that's the kind of person that needs to have a fat lip, really. Those people risked their lives to save her.
Yeah.
And they pulled her to the shore in a kayak, and like seconds later, the car goes under. And that's a real neck down in the river right there.
Yeah.
Underneath the bridge that goes through Manitouk there. It necks right down in there around those pilings. Never freezes in the winter. Well, it freezes, but, a day later it's open. That type of stuff. And when she got there, the vehicle went through. But to be laughing and smiling, taking a picture of yourself, and then saying, "Oh, I do it again." Like, I don't know. I did some stupid things when I was a kid, when I was young. Like, if I sat down to you, wouldn't believe it. I got the things from the newspapers to prove it. But,
well, I'll tell you, I'd be more worried about the beating I was going to get from the old man for driving the family car through the ice than, I better take a selfie of this. But, to Mark Elbeck's point, this is what concerns me. Obviously, that snow is like throwing a blanket over dirty laundry. It all looks great, but underneath it, pressure cracks, open water, things that it's the unforeseen. And I would imagine this sled that's out on Lake Simcoe right now is a prime example of the hazards that this kind of snowfall presents to anglers and anybody that wants to travel on the hard waters.
Now, you can't stress enough on safety. People say, "Oh, I've been going there for years." Well, like I just said a few minutes ago, nothing ever happens until it happens. You you're lucky to get one chance at this, depending how it happens. Today, like, if you don't have a floater suit, put on a life jacket.
So these are some of the things that we're going to talk about with Jay in regards to snowshoes, because I do know that he likes to have his snowshoes and of course floater suits are paramount now. But to give you an idea, that's actually a really good idea, Mike, in regards to putting basically a snow cube together to give yourself an idea of how heavy snow is. If you're not out shoveling it right now after the aftermath of this storm, or you've never had to shovel snow in your life, God bless you. But if you already know how heavy snow can be, but if you want a good example, do exactly what Mike suggests, and then think about a lake like Lake Simcoe or the Bay of Quinte, and times that by an incredible amount when it comes to.
Well, we had a drift here, Scottie, in the laneway, and I just took just a square shovel we have, just a regular shovel, and I cut a square and went underneath it, lifted up the block of snow in the drift. And I don't know what it weighs, but it's not 5 pounds. It's a lot more. It's just, like you said, like a 10 by 10, 12 by 10 block. And how many hundreds of thousands of millions of blocks of snow are on Simcoe right now like that?
Yeah. And of course, as you mentioned too, before we went to live, all that weight pushes that ice down, and then we get water. And then there's slush, which of course makes things even more hazardous.
Oh, slush is dangerous. There's people that have died from being stuck in slush walking. That's a real thing. Like, they just get stuck. You can't get out. You can't walk any further. If you ever find slush and you're with some buddies, you want to be a hero, try walking 100 yards in slush up to your calves.
Doesn't
you
sound
better
like
be you better be in awful good shape to go that far. And if you're a mile out, you got a long way to go yet,
Yeah. And Jay was talking about
back in the water.
Jay was talking about, unfortunately, if you are an ATVer and you use ATVs to enjoy the hard water, this is not your time with that amount of snow. And I do believe we have, someone on the Bay of Quinte, and God bless them for, heading out there. I wouldn't want to be out there on a day like today but unfortunately, he's a few hundred yards from shore, and he is reaching out to people to try and help him. And I think it's on that Bay at Quinny 360 that Jay had mentioned. He's stuck looking for some help in. So there's lots going on. Not only our 400 series highways, but of course, all of our highways out on the hard water. Everything's jam-packed, and people should just pay heed to what is being told to you. Stay home.
Yeah, it's really, I saw so many people posting today that, they were going to go out this morning and they just said, the heck with it, I'll stay home and shovel the snow and just do something in the garage or whatever. It's just not worth it. And like I say, the bad time is coming now. You're going to see
cold is going to start. Yeah, cold is going to start to set in. We're going to get colder as the week goes on. Jim, one thing I wanted to talk to you about, for no other reason than it's just because I was out on Sunday and enjoying my first bit of hard water myself. But tell me how, with this storm that was approaching on Sunday, and it was a full moon, does that up the percentages? Like, I mean, as anglers, we're trying to put the odds in our favor when it comes to hooking into fish. How much does a full moon and a deep low pressure that is approaching from wherever?
Well, I'm thinking, Scottie, low pressure is low pressure. When you move into it, the fish bite. It's all there is to it, and I don't think it's any different underneath the ice. The other day there, when we had a really cold night around here, it was minus 29 or something. And the number of guys that I saw post about that were fishing lakes, within maybe 50, 100 miles a year, saying, oh my God, there wasn't much going on with the fish out there, but we had nice, we cooked this up in the shack, or we did this, or the kids were skating because there was no snow yet, like they had a really nice day out there. And that was a giant cold front. And that's, the cold front shut fish down, warm fronts and other stuff like, associated with rain. Like if you look at pictures, this was something I learned from the guys at the Inn Fisherman years ago when the Lindner still had it. And when I used to do their Anglers Award thing there in the magazine every year, Al made a comment to me once that all the big fish were on cloudy pictures because they used to want to use pictures and they were cloudy. And although sometimes cloudy days do put up really good photos because there's no shadows and stuff, there's nothing beats that summertime picture. You're holding up a bass or, something, or a big bluegill. You're fishing in the summertime. It's great. And almost all the pictures of the really significant fish, bigger than average, are all cloudy, rainy days, people wet. And when he told me that, I went back and looked, and there was so many photos that I had of big fish that I caught over the years, whether they be muskies or walleyes or whatever, on miserable, rainy, overcast days. You could see yourself, you were still soaked, your hair would be wet, hanging up, even if you couldn't tell it was raining. It rained earlier in the day, but you didn't wimp out and go home. You stayed. That's what you do when you're young, eh? When you get old, it's, I think I have a phone call I forgot.
Well, it's so true, Jim. I mean, Saturday I thought about it with the wind and those cold temperatures that we had. And, back then unless you built one, you didn't have an ice shack. So you went out
and sat on a bucket and froze.
You froze your arse off, and you did it in hopes that you were going to bring something home that you could brag about with your buddies. But at the end of the day, it's amazing how technology, and we talk about it all the time, you and I, how technology is advanced so that we as the angler can enjoy the angling experience no matter what time of season or what time or what's going on when it comes to weather. But
look how many people posted pictures of them sitting in pop-up huts or just regular huts or whatever, sitting in a hut, cooking up some sausages, some hot dogs. There was one guy there making omelets. He posted a little movie. He was making omelets, and he was good because he knew. I think he might have been one of these guys that Cameron might know, and he'd just slide that pan and the omelet would flop over on itself. Like he knew what he was doing. He'd done this before, and not just in an ice shack. But people, they really enjoy themselves more when they go out and do that. Now, why? Because they're dressed properly. We always talk about the technology having caught up. And here you go, boom. You're sitting, you're not freezing. You see them, the jackets are open. They got little kids with them sitting in the chair. They bring the kids out. The kids aren't freezing to death, crying 15 minutes after you're out, wanting to go home. And it just makes the whole thing a lot more enjoyable than it used to be. I mean, God, when you went ice fishing, you used to have to be sure if you went Sunday that you had Monday off because you had to get warm to go back to work on Tuesday. Like it took that long. You'd be freezing. The number of times I came home from ice fishing just 15, 20 years ago. And I mean, you're literally, like stripping off halfway through the house to get to the shower because you were so cold. You wanted to get some lukewarm water on yourself. You were just freezing. And then all of a sudden came the pop-ups and everything else. And look at us now.
It's true, man. And that's why they honestly call it the passion for angling, because it is a passion. It has to be, or who would do it?
Hey, the way you always hear me talking to people about, they say, oh, I fish for crappies with minnows. And I say, well, that's probably the worst thing you could do. You could probably catch more with a bare spoon or proper stuff and everything. And I talk about bloodworms. So this is Mr. Piser's young lad or grandson today, or yesterday probably, on Lake of the Woods. And they were fishing crappies and bluegills and panfish and that. Now, I don't know whether you can see this. Yeah, you can. You know what those little things are?
Those wouldn't. I bet you they're Jay Barnucz's favorite thing to use.
They are indeed. They're bloodworms.
Yeah, baby. So
there they are, and they're. You know what I mean? I talked to Jay and I were having a laugh about it this afternoon. I sent him a picture and I said, "Hey, look," and it's just really, really cool. And of course, if in the rest of the pictures I looked at on the thing that they did there, they weren't fishing with a volcano around their hole. Just so people know. I'm still seeing movies. You know what I mean? I see people post things on Facebook every day. Every day. Here's a nice 5-pound walleye coming up the hole in Quinny. There's this much snow and a cone around it. They get it up. They're trying to pull it out of the hole. Now it's in the air so it can really thrash. And that's when it gets off instead of just sliding out of the water onto the ice. You got to do it, folks. You'll get so many. And it's always the big ones that get off, right? Like you don't lose the 15 incher. It's when you take that weight out of the water, it's dead weight then, eh? It's in the air. It makes a huge difference.
100%. Jim, just before you leave us, if any folks are going out this weekend, are there any things that you can offer when it comes to advice on how to stay safe and things to look for? Is there anything that we can look for when we're out on the hard water to warn us with that much snow that we're going to be?
Be really aware of what don't be afraid to look around. I mean, when you first go out, check and see. It only takes a couple of seconds if there's slush, because I've seen times when you go out and there's slush along the shore, and you get 100 yards out and there's no slush for the rest of the day. But I've also seen it vice versa, where it's really bad out on the lake, and then you could go 300 yards and there's none again because the ice with the weight. The way the snow gets distributed, you might have 2 feet of snow in one place and then almost none. So, the slush, it's got weight of that snow pushing down. And with the ice not being thick yet, it can, the water can come through it a lot faster than you think. It's not like I mentioned earlier when you got 30 inches of ice and 30 inches of snow sitting on it. Really, nothing's happening. That's the way it is until it melts,
Makes
it's
sense.
just frozen and it's strong. But yeah, be aware of what you're doing. That type of stuff. I mean, I met a bunch of guys a few years ago on a lake not far from here, and there's 25, 28 inches of ice on the lake. So there's lots of ice. And they all went out and we met at the same place, and they went on at the same little road. And they were all there when I got there. I had a little bit of difficulty finding the road because there was like 6 roads that cut down to the lake on the bend that they said there was one. So I had to go up and down a couple till I found the one that went to the green cottage with the access. So I go out on the ice and I get out there and they're all parked. I don't know. They're all parked about 5 yards apart. Just a beautiful row of nice pickup trucks there, right? And I parked about probably 75 yards behind them. And I walked over with my stuff and they were all fishing and everything else. And it got really windy and they were inside fishing. And all of a sudden, one of the guys, Paul, went back to his truck to get something, and he comes out screaming to the guys, eh? Quick, come move your trucks. There was like 8, like the water was almost going in the trucks, like in the cabs. They had all sunk. They had just the weight had pushed the ice down. And this was right in the middle of the winter when the ice is, and like I said, there's a couple of feet plus of ice. But when you put, what would it be, like 30, 40 tons of vehicles?
At least, yeah.
in a space like that, it's kind of thing. So yeah, there's so many little things you can do when you're out there. You need to pay attention. I mean, I still saw pictures the other day of guys parking close to the shore with their vehicles.
Yeah.
And the vehicle through, the water's only 3 feet deep and there's a foot of ice. So it's not going under or anything, but it's still a big toll bill, and who knows, you don't wreck your car getting it out.
Amen.
So you got to look around. You got to be careful. It's powers of observation with stuff like that are really important.
Great advice as always, Jim. And a reminder, if you haven't downloaded the winter edition of Just Fishing Magazine, make sure you do so now. Go to www.justfishing.ca.
Got a big perch on the front there with a good-looking lady fisherman holding it up there.
Absolutely.
So I got a call from a lady left me a message. I'm so happy that you eventually put a lady on the cover. So I had to remind her of the 7 that came before this one.
Good on you, Jim. You're a gentleman and a scholar, my friend. You
Always.
take care
Hey,
of
you guys
yourself.
all be safe out there.
Right on, dude. Speaking of ice castles, Lawrence is going to be joining us right after this to tell us what it takes to be an ice castle. Here's a word from our sponsor.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
Lawrence, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, Scottie.
So listen, you guys out in the Ottawa way, you seem to get more snow than us. Your ice seems to build a little bit quicker than ours. So with that, of course, you have the beginning of what is known out in that area as ice castle season. Well, everybody can have an ice castle. What does it take to qualify your fish hut, what have you, or your whatever it is that you're building, and deem it as an ice castle?
That's a good question. And I've been doing some research on this and looking at a bunch of, across Canada, and what people call ice castles. And I'm breaking it down like this. There's ice shacks and then there's ice castles. And what happened is the RV industry, always thinking of ways to sell more trailers, right? They just figured out that they can take some of their basic RVs, recreational vehicles, their tow trailers, the ones you tow behind, not the big fifth wheels, not the motorhomes, but the tow alongs, go onto the back of your truck or SUV. And by making a few small adjustments to the platform, they can make them 4-season ice castles, things that you can tow out onto the ice. A lot of people might think that's just a little ridiculous, to spend 30, 40, even $50,000 on an RV to go ice fishing in it, but you can use these things year round as well. So the same features that are in an RV that you would use camping and in the summer, you would have access to many of those same features in the wintertime. You might not run your water. You might not, take all your antifreeze out of the pipes and run water. You might not want to fill your gray tanks and your black tanks or your freshwater tanks because, you got to heat that stuff. And if you don't heat it, without draining it, you're going to run into problems. So running water is going to be out. But let's talk about why you would go from an ice shack to an ice castle.
Now, keep in mind, Lawrence, keep in mind, with Jim's segment, we just basically spent the last 20 minutes saying, be careful of what you're taking out of the ice. And now we're encouraging folks to go out and purchase RVs and go out on the ice. Now, I've seen it firsthand. We were out on the fjord in Saguenay, and our good buddy Matt out there took us out on the fjord in Saguenay. La Baie is the name of the city, and it is a small. Well, it's a fairly medium-sized city of RVs, campers, and what have you. How much ice typically is required to support an RV?
Well, they started pulling them out last weekend. So on January 8th, they started pulling them out at around Petrie Island, which is on the Ottawa River. It's a bay on the Ottawa River, just near Orleans. And yeah, the ice shack started getting pulled out there. So some have wheels, some are just slid out on skids, on skis. They have a nice business there. The Oziel's Marina, they'll store your ice shack all winter. And for a fee, that's $350. That includes them taking it out onto the ice at the beginning of the season and bringing it back onto land at the end of the ice fishing season, storing it over the summer on land. So for $350, that's not a bad deal. For that kind of money, people aren't thinking ice castles. They're thinking shacks that can be, moved by what they're using, an 8-wheel Argo, right? Argo with tracks. So these Argos, they're not worried if they, pull it out too early in the season or a little too late in the season and the ice breaks, those Argos float. So, your ice shack will probably float for a little bit too. It can be rescued. Even if it sinks, it can still be pulled out at some point. But that community there, they have about the Petrie Island Ice Fishing Association. They have about 125 to 150 members. They're all out there with their 1-story, 2-story ice fishing shacks. I mean, some of these things are just absolutely colossal. They have roads that are plowed out there. Everyone drives out there with their trucks. I was out there once for one of their festivals, and this was 10 years ago or so, and they put a drone up, and drones were not really that well known. So they sent a drone up, and I talked to the owners of Ozil afterwards, and he said, Lawrence, he said, we looked at the photographs of that drone, and you could see the snow all around where the 100 huts are and all the vehicles and the flatbed trailer. It was all sort of darker than the snow around that area because it was getting saturated with water. So much pressure. You drill a whole bunch of holes through the ice to relieve the pressure. Well, no, you're drilling those holes to ice fish, but in a sense, you're relieving the pressure under the ice. So the water gurgles up through those holes that you're fishing out of, and it allows the ice to go down because the pressure is relieved, right? So, at some point, yeah, it comes up, but ice floats. So at some point, you get that equilibrium. So it wasn't a catastrophe. You get enough ice, like we get to 24, 30 inches of ice around here in Eastern Ontario. That's not unusual on a good winter. We didn't get that last winter, which was a freak winter, but we get there.
I'll tell you, I maybe I'm not the only one. How many folks are imagining polka music right now? It's like a scene from Grumpy Old Men. And as Chris Dillon just mentioned, Lake of the Woods on the American side is just full of wheelhouses. I know it's a big thing on our state side in regards to setting up these I want to call small ice cities, where small towns will just gather out on the ice and they have their own private hut. It's their home away from home. They buy their 6-pack of beer, some beef jerky, whatever it is else that they enjoy. They go out. Some of them have cable TV and they're able to watch the game or Netflix or what have you. But it's like a weekend event. It's like going to the cottage just in the wintertime.
I'm going to take this a little bit further. Okay, so not too many people around here are going to buy an RV, an ice castle, because we just don't have, like in Michigan, those long winters, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, where you have those long seasons where you can get full use out of it. But there are people who want to have that mobility. They want to have the attributes of an ice shack, but they also want to take it off when they're done. So they want to go for a weekend, 2 or 3 days, some overnighting. They want to have all the creature comforts with them. They want to bring all their equipment with them. They want to have the ability to have some friends stay with them, but they want to take it home at the end of the weekend. And what people are doing is they're buying these 16-foot enclosed cargo trailers and they're modifying them. Now, some are making permanent modifications. They're making them unusable as cargo trailers. And others are saying, well, you know what? We don't have to make it permanent. You can hang all sorts of things in there. You can, bring all sorts of equipment in there. You can still cut your holes in the floor. And you don't need to take the suspension out and have the drop suspension necessarily to make it an ice castle. You can take 5-gallon buckets. You cut the bottoms out of them. You set them through the holes in the floor, right down to the hole in the ice where you're fishing from, to make a wind barrier there, so the wind isn't filling in your hole and freezing over your hole all the time. So this is a way. It's not just, what you see in these ice communities where the huts go out in January and they come in March, and they go and they don't move all winter. These are people that want to move around every weekend and try different places. Why? Because maybe they can, maybe because they don't have a service like Oziel's to put their huts out there and bring them back and store them. So they have to figure out how to move these things and how to put them somewhere. And because they're worried about security. So, you fill up an ice shack full of gear, expensive gear. It's always a risk, right? When you walk away, lock the door. Locks are for friends. They're just there to let your friends know that you're not home. They're not a deterrent.
Or it's to keep the inmates inside the asylum. Who knows? But I will say this, in regards to some of the creativity that I see on Facebook recently, there's a chap that has posted on Facebook. He's taken Johnny on the Spot, a plastic preformed Johnny on the Spot, and he has transformed it into his ice hut. It has LED lighting. It has heating. As you mentioned, he uses 5-gallon pails that have the bottoms cut out for his ice holes. But, talk about something that is relatively inexpensive, because they're everywhere. And not that I'm suggesting that you go rob a construction site to grab one, because that would be the last place I'd want to get one of these things. But at the end of the day, you literally can turn just about anything into an ice shanty. But the creativity, it's always something that I've wanted to do at CFN. I know it takes a little bit of money, but even if folks were to reach out on Facebook and do some homework and find out some of the most creative ice huts, ice shanties, trick your trap, as they say sometimes. But I mean, as you mentioned, stories. Like, I've seen 3-story houses. I mean, some houses on land aren't this big that are being towed out, by big tow rigs. Like, it's endless.
Oh yeah. Like we have a guide here, Ottawa River Guiding Services, and he has 24 foot, 12 by 24 foot ice shacks he brings out. They sleep 6. They have full kitchens, stoves, fridges, flat screen TVs, generators. He puts a porta potty out there. You can sleep six guys comfortably. Done it. He rents them out for $500 a day. That includes all your gear, all your minnows, and your electricity, your gas, everything you need, right? There's you're not left needing anything. But again, that's a sort of a social event. I'm thinking, I'm like a lot of people saying, I like to fish. I like to fish and I like to socialize, but I don't want to go to the same place every weekend and just hang around with the same people every weekend all year round, because I know there's going to be some times of the year it's going to be good fishing, and then there's going to be other times of the year where it's not going to be good fishing at all. So then you're just going out there to socialize, and it's not ice fishing, it's just socializing. So I still like this idea that of having that ability to trick out your shack and really, kit it out, and then bring it back to your driveway at the end of your trip. And not worry about break-ins, not worry about theft, not worry about vandalism, not worry about the thing getting frozen into the ice if you have a big melt or something like that. And then to be able to pick your next place and head out to your next place with your friends, and and put the thing out there. So I think this takes the whole idea of the mobile, flip over shack with the tent on top. This takes it to the next level. You're still mobile, but you're having the best of both worlds. You're having the mobility, but you're able to bring all the gear with you, all your kit, fully customized, all your creature comforts, everything you need. You've got it with you, including washroom facilities. I mean, there's all sorts of portable washroom, toilet type facilities you can bring with you now that are low cost. You can spend anywhere from, a 5-gallon bucket with a custom seat on it, all the way up to $1,000. It custom wraps your droppings and packages it for you. You never have to touch it. There's all sorts of pretty cool gear out there. So this is really taking mobile fishing, ice fishing to the next level. It's no longer, a sort of a bit of a joke. This is really, it's getting serious.
Yeah, no, it is. And unfortunately, as you mentioned too, the unfortunate part of everyday society is theft and vandalism. What is so cool, or what we think is so cool, sometimes has to be tempered with the reality of what's going on in this world. And yeah, unfortunately, there's a dark side. And as much as we'd love to leave stuff like that on the ice, we can't. So the fact that folks are going to the extreme of making them portable, as great of a deal as that is, and I'm glad Steve mentioned it, $350 to take your ice castle, I should say, off and on the ice. That seems very inexpensive, but the portability factor, I think, is key too. What scares me though is, of course, as portable as these ice shanties, castles, whatever you want to call them, are, you're going to bodies of water you may not be familiar with, and the inevitable happens.
Well, you got to be careful. You got, like, there's no such thing as safe ice, right? So, you really got to manage the risks. You really got to always think in the back of your head, this is, the ice is not safe. We got to check it all the time, get reports, check it for yourself, look what other people are doing, and take your chances. But, like at this end of the world where I live, the lakes now are all fairly frozen up solid. You can take a truck onto the ice around here. I mean, that lady that was whipping up the river there, she made it 30 kilometers, right? And she got caught at that one weak spot there. But there's always going to be weaknesses. You just have to know where they are, and you use local knowledge for that. But there's, it opens up. And, if you have something that's mobile, that has good wheels, good bearings, you can head up a little bit further north, right? You can make a weekend out of it, and you can head north and get to some of these more distant locations with your own gear. You don't have to rent your gear. You can bring it up there yourself. So it kind of opens it up a little bit, doesn't it?
100%. And I'm still convinced that that is her boyfriend's car. She caught him cheating on the weekend, and she drove it as far as she had to find the weakest spot so she could sink it. And unfortunately, it wasn't the deepest part of the river. But that's just my story. I don't know if it's the truth.
Yeah.
Or anybody that travels that far on rivers just asking for trouble.
It's and then the environmental impact as well. All that, engine oil, transmission oil, differential oil, the grease, the gasoline getting into the river and leaking out. Who knows how long it'll be before they get that vehicle out of there, right? So 100%. It can be leaking for a long time, and that's a lot of catastrophe right there as well. Hey, before I go, we should talk about January 26th. Bring people up. It's in the Bluefish News today. There's some more information on our panel that you're going to be part of. CFN is co-promoting this. Bluefish Canada, the St. Lawrence River Institute for Environmental Research. We've got angler tournament organizers. We've got researchers all getting together to talk about, how angler apps are making these virtual tournaments more real now than ever before. And as a consequence, giving the opportunity to researchers to collect data on fisheries-related data way beyond showing up at a tournament in person and tagging fish that are about to be released, right? This goes tenfold more than what you got just by showing up at a tournament with your researchers. It's absolutely incredible. And I put in my editorial, and if you want to read it, we've got this looming deadline of this 30 by 30 commitment that the US government made, Canadian government made, to protect 30% of our nature by the year 2030. That's in 8 years, right? 30%. So that's terrestrial, freshwater, rivers, and our oceans. Oceans are 30%, and land and freshwater is 30%. So with that much terrain, with that much nature about to go under the protective designation, what does that mean? And if we make the same mistake California made, where they said, well, we don't have the research now, so let's be careful, let's just protect it for now and then do the research, and then if the research shows that you can fish there, we'll open it back up again. Well, you know what? 10 years went by. They were supposed to have this done, and they never put the money into it. And they said, you know what? We never got around to doing it. We need another extension on this. And then they got another extension, and then they just said, you know what? We're not going to do it. So now you have this big swath of ocean along the California coast that's just a marine protection area where you can't go fishing. There was a guide boat in there last week and they were fishing. They got caught, big, massive fine. But, you know, if the government doesn't have the resources to, you know, do this research, we can do it for them with these researchers, with these university researchers and the anglers providing the data. We can provide that baseline data that shows, hey, the fishing here is sustainable. The fishing, there's good fish numbers. There's good steady fish numbers every year. You know, fishing is sustainable. No reason to shut the fishing down here. Thank you very much. You know, we want it protected, but not to the point where you're kicking the anglers off the water. And that, I think this is something where the angler apps and the researchers can really play a big role in making sure that any protection type decisions made as we race towards this 30 by 30 deadline, those decisions are made using true science-based precautionary principles, not just, you know, fears or someone's suspicions or other agendas that may have to do with, you know, anti-fishing.
And it couldn't come at a better time. As I said, I'm very excited to be a part of this because there's a lot of questions probably that our community is reluctant to ask when it comes to using these apps in terms of the privacy. You know, how is it going to be used? Who's going to be using it? Where is it going to be seen? I think a lot of these questions need to be answered when it comes to using these apps, because I'm sure there's a misconception and a reluctance. And with the Winter Fish Fest using it as a pilot, and hopefully going to be using it for our CFN spring online multi-species tournament. These questions need to be answered. So as anglers that are going to be competing, we want you folks to chime in. And as I said, I can't think of a better time. It is literally, it's like the planets are aligning that we're able to have this discussion and have those folks in the know answer some of the questions and misconceptions that folks have about using these apps, but also talk about the pros and cons. And from what I can see, it's all pros. I don't see too many cons.
Yeah, I think they've been heard. Anglers have been heard in terms of protecting their data, in terms of protecting their spots, their hard-earned fishing spots. That message has come through loud and clear. But how, you know, how it's come through and how it's being protected, the security, you got to check in January 26, 7 p.m. right here on CFN Live. Join us and have your questions ready. We're going to go through 5 presenters in 30 minutes, and I'm going to be running the clock on that, and then we'll have 30 minutes for Q&A and discussion afterwards.
We're going to be holding you to it. Lawrence, as always, thanks so much for joining us each and every Monday, dude. You bring a wealth of information and must-know knowledge, and we look forward to seeing you all the time, my friend.
Thanks, Scottie. Appreciate the opportunity, man, and thanks for listening to me, you guys.
Take care. All the best. Enjoy your week, Lawrence. Now, here's a word from Jason's sponsor. He's going to be up next talking about snowshoes and some of the do's and don'ts when it comes to venturing out on the hard water with all the snow. Give us a sec. Here's a word from his sponsor.
The fear of failure is failure itself. The world of science rewards the ones who are willing to try and fail. Because without the courage to embrace failure, ideas remain ideas. But with that courage to fail and to learn, ideas can change the world.
J-Dog's in the house. How you doing, Jay?
Dude, I'm exhausted, man. 5 kilometers on the phone today, according to my phone that I did with a snowplow or a snowblower in front of me. But
yeah, I feel you, because I'm going to be doing it shortly, right after we're done here on live. I've got an entire driveway, and God bless my son. My son, God love him. He woke up late for work. He works midnights, and he managed to get all the snow off his truck. And most of the neighbors have attested, and they've said on our group chat, our neighborhood group chat, the most entertaining thing they saw today was Jake, my son, clearing all his snow off his truck into a pile in the center of the driveway that I now have to go clear. Yes.
It's honestly wild, man. Like we almost have as much snow as Toronto. Like we're in the 20, we're over 30 centimeters. And for a 1-day event, that's pretty much a record for us down here. So the thing about down here is we get as much snow as a lot of northern areas, but it doesn't stick around, right? It falls and then it melts. And literally last night we had grass. We had grass on the lawn. So it's easy to walk out. I got kind of an open area between my neighbor's property and ours, and I could take the tape measure, and it's, I know if I touch ground, that because there was no snow there yesterday. So as of noon today, we are at 29 centimeters. So I figure we'll probably have about 35 when it's over. It's crazy. So
incredible. And I just like you said, we had, all of us had grass. Like there wasn't a stitch of snow to be seen anywhere.
There's still grass. Our Windsor friends, our Essex County friends. I'm seeing pictures of the same frozen grass that everyone else had yesterday.
Yeah. I would love to see a time lapse of that snow event. But as I said, there's more on the way. The winter's not over. It's just we have to talk about it because it's basically a season-long winter snow amount in one day. In basically one day, 24 hours, we got equal to that of what we get in an entire winter season.
Well,
so
and
it is
now we changed the game again, Scotty. We were talking backstage before the show.
Yeah,
we went from finally having safe ice in Southern Ontario. Okay, even down here in Long Point Bay, there was safe ice on the weekend. Like, not everywhere. So truth be told, I've been kind of laying low the past week. Been busy with work and getting caught up on things around here and family stuff. And it was just good to, just put the phone down for a while and just kind of do other things, to be honest. And some of that is doing tinkering, doing things and getting caught up on some reading and stuff, and do that with what's going on in the world, man. I've learned I gotta put things away once in a while. So, but it's so good to go ice fishing. So we go ice fishing, and we went out Thursday night to a local place, and we only fished for 2 hours, but the bite window in these places, these small ponds I'm fishing, are so narrow. Right at dusk, you don't need a hub, man. Even if it's -10, you're only out there for an hour. It is smash and grab fishing. But then you go for the day and you want to go perch fishing, and you're out there, and we're taking it's the Cadillac, man. It's the full hub, the heater, everything else. And as soon as I heard that, so this is my story Sunday, man. I get up, get everything ready. We're going to go crappie fishing. We're talking crappie fishing. Literally, I get a message from Chris Kershaw, and I think he's listening in today. He's a buddy of ours from down here, him and his family. Their kids played hockey with our kids. So it's one of those things, I know you're a hockey man, Scotty, you get it.
Yeah.
So Chris is getting back in ice fishing, and he's like, sure enough, he's like, Jay, you said it was going to grow 2 inches overnight. It did. And so this place called Collins Harbor. Collins Harbor is a place down, and shout out to the Collins family. They have this great spot. You could park right by the ice. It is $10 per adult for parking, but you can park right not on the ice. They have a parking lot. There's a boat ramp. You can walk on the ice. They got a new bait shack. They take debit. It's awesome, man. It's awesome. The logistics of ice fishing these days in busy areas is so hard. So we show up at Collins Harbor, walk out, and we had Scotty. It was glare ice. Okay, so I got my cleats. I always wear they're my Rapala, the black ones that kind of fit together, the spikes, always on my coat, on my body, and I got my spud. And I'm getting 5 inches of ice all the way out. We walked out 350 yards from shore straight out. And I didn't want to explore because 5 inches is not a lot of ice to me. Okay. Yeah. And there's some pressure cracks out there and stuff. So we just, let's just fish. We fished. We got about 20 to 30 perch. Trevor lost a couple pike. And we only fished from 12 until 5. We didn't even fish the whole day. It was a great day. Chris and Danielle came out. Great seeing them out there. And dude, like when Chris, so St. Williams for me in Long Point Bay, that is my grumpy old man memory, right? And as soon as he texted me, I'm humming polka music. Like I literally was driving to where I wanted to go for crappie. And then I turned around and Trevor's like, what the heck's going on? I go, dude, 180. We're going south to the lake. And we went right down to Lake Erie. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a ton of fun. And the water was murky because what happens in Long Point Bay and Mitchell's Bay this time of year when the ice starts, it's usually as soon as the ice forms, the lake is quite murky in the fall from all the wind. It takes a week or two for it to clear up. And so considering the conditions weren't great, we caught fish. We didn't keep any, dude. We have fish in the freezer. We just got back from Quinte a while ago. I said to Trevor, let's not keep any. I don't feel like cleaning fish tonight. Let's just catch them. And we did. And it was fun. So, okay. So here's the thing. You guys were talking about weight of snow on the ice. People may not realize this, Scottie. A 1 foot by 1 foot, a cubic foot of snow, fresh snow, is about 5 pounds. Not a lot. Once it's settled and wind packed, it can be 15 to 25 pounds. When that snow gets wet and you're talking slush, 25 to 50 pounds of wet snow in a 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot area. So you're on 4 to 5 inches of ice, which is a lot of folks were fishing that on Saturday on Simcoe or Sunday, which is plenty strong. But now you're adding an additional 50 pounds in a 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot area, square foot or cubic foot. Sorry. Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm. I know. Yes.
It's in it. So now we go back to, and we never should leave this point in our thought is being safe on the ice. Now with snow, and Mark Albeck's chimed in here a couple times. Hey, it's dangerous out there. It's more dangerous with snow because it hides it. It really does. Pressure cracks get blown over. You can't see them. So more important to be safe as well. And getting around in the snow, it's hard. It's hard. Yeah. Like I'm not too keen on going ice fishing for the next few days until the conditions change. And I know Trevor's listening in and he's not happy about that, but it's a ton of work. We're on foot. We don't have a snow machine. Like we live so far south that we would not get enough use to have a snowmobile down here. We wouldn't. Like we only ice fish for maybe 2 months of the year. And for us to have a snow machine, it's not worth it for me for that expense at this point. Maybe when I get older and I retire and I travel more, maybe, but right now. So we're on foot. We're wearing cleats, snowshoes if we need to. But the biggest lifesaver, if you're on foot, is a Smitty sled. I can't tell you enough about anglers. Get yourself a Smitty sled. Like walking in deep snow, probably the only activity that sucks more than dragging a heavy hut in deep snow is shoveling it. That's the only activity that's worse than dragging a hut. I was just going to say, yep. Right? Yep. So, Christina, how dangerous to fish close to a pressure crack? It is dangerous. Like I avoid them. Like, you know, and there's people probably listening and that's like, oh, gee, I remember you were jigging that pressure crack on Simcoe last year, catching perch. Okay, so we walked up to a pressure crack, checked it because I had my spud, and we were actually catching perch through a pressure crack. But like I still checked the ice at the pressure crack, you know. In general, it's not a good idea to go around pressure cracks. Even yesterday, Trevor and I were walking over pressure cracks, and they weren't even that big a pressure crack, but you could see the water coming up through as we were walking because you think it's only 5 inches of ice where we were. And literally a kilometer to the northeast of us, mm-hmm. They had an extra inch and a half ice because they're more sheltered there where we are in the bay. We're more exposed where we were, so they built their ice first. Yeah. You know, so, but
and, you know what? I certainly wouldn't want to encourage folks to fish pressure cracks, but there's a lot of good thought when it comes to how they benefit the fishery. And of course, you know, it is an immediate source of oxygen. You know, the oxygen is able to mix the water right there. Of course, you get a lot of the nutrients and sediment for the water that's running in from on top of the ice. So there's that added factor. You've got all kinds of organisms that the little fish are feeding on that the big fish feed on. So it creates quite a food web and of course a great source of oxygen. But I do not recommend folks, unless you are like Jay and some of us that are long in the tooth and seasoned hard water vets, to get too close to them. Stay clear of them.
I'm going to give everyone a tip though. And I do this on Quinte a lot. And in fact, I pretty much do it everywhere I go, especially when I'm a little uncertain about the ice. So, you know, like I said, I got my picks, I got my cleats, I got my spud, got my flotation gear. Bring a rope. Please bring a rope. Bring a throw rope. Like that throw rope that sits in your boat and gets mildewy, bring that inside keep that in your. It's in my kit. Like I literally have one of those like orange waterproof like ammo boxes. You know, I'm talking about, Scotty. In there, I have our spikes, our cleats, our headlamps. Headlamp should always be in your pocket because we're usually coming off the ice at night. You should have a headlamp. And my throw line. And my throw line goes in our sled. Everyone who's with me knows where my throw line is. Your throw line is going to save someone's life if you need it, and maybe not yours. But if someone gets into trouble, and that's what's nice about actually my spud. My spud, and I've heard of guys doing this, and this is what got the idea. My spud is a 2-piece Eskimo, and it's got a heavy strap on the top that I wrap around my wrist when I'm spudding.
Yep.
But if you want to get to somebody and throw them a line, tie it to your spud and then slide your spud across the ice. It'll take the rope. Make sure the rope's tied to you, though. Make sure you're holding on to that rope, okay? But what's nice about those rescue ropes is they float. A lot of ropes don't float. You got to know what kind of rope you have, and that rescue rope floats. That's why it's designed to rescue people. That rope, it helps you in the summer. It'll also help you in the winter, and it doesn't take up a lot of room, okay? So bring that rope with you. Someone may need it. You'd be surprised, and you're going to use it once.
So we were talking about life jackets. If you don't have a floor suit and you're a little heavier set like myself, and they don't necessarily make them your size, big shout out to Clam because I did have to. I'm hopefully going to be enjoying some hard water action with some of you CFNers. So I made sure to get a flotation suit because I ripped the crotch out of the last one. And a shout out to Clam because you make a true XXX floater suit. No offense to any of the other companies, but this fat arse didn't fit in any of it. So, but Clam did. Anyway, some were saying that if you don't have a floater suit, wear a life jacket. Now, when it comes to those self-inflating life jackets, do they work in the winter?
Yep. Yeah, they'll work in the winter. But the thing about the inflatables is that as convenient as they are, they require a lot of maintenance. Make sure they work. Check the expiry dates on the cartridges. I use both the hydrostatic and the automatic inflates. So the pressure sensor but make sure they work. Don't be afraid, and always have an extra kit with you. If you're going to use those, keep it in your vehicle or whatever. But keep that extra kit ready to rearm. But if you don't have a proper flotation suit, wear it. Wear the inflatable over top of your body, or if you have to, wear it inside. Like, I know that's not the best, but as long as it fires off and gives you some added flotation, it will help you. So Steve, good point. So it's only good for 5 years. You need to check the dates on them, and it's always good to, if you see them, pick them up. Always keep an extra one at the house, because when they do, if they get wet or someone, even if someone accidentally fires it off, you want to be able to have that, because if it's not reset, it's not usable. Once it's been fired off, it's no longer can be used again, right? So you need to have those cartridges and take care of those cartridges. Keep them in dry storage. And I always tell people this too. You're going to spend money on those life preservers, life jackets. Take care of them. They're expensive. Bring them inside. Hang them up. Do not leave them in your boat. Do not leave them in your boat compartments, because I've seen very few boat compartments that are actually bone dry all the time. Okay?
No kidding.
Like maybe the ones you're using all the time because you're always taking your tackle in and out, and things are kind of moving around the air and that. But there's always that one compartment where people keep their anchor and their lights and their life jackets, and it's a mildewy mess in there, and that will kill any of those PFDs that you have. Really,
100%.
really, truly.
Now, at the outset, we were talking about, of course, the deep snow. Trevor mentioned it as well. I know you're a gentleman that loves to use his snowshoes. This is your time. If you're going to wear snowshoes out on the hard water, this is the time to do it. Correct?
Yeah, like I haven't done, to be honest, living down south here, I haven't done as much snowshoeing in the last few years, but it's something that you have to think about if you want to get into places. And also this is also about dressing properly for it too, Scotty. Yeah. One reason why when I picked up, so I have a Striker ice suit. Okay. I bought the Predator model on purpose because I do so much walking that I didn't want, they make more insulated ones. I think the hard water. So I have the Predator suit. They have the hard water and the Apex suit. And I've heard from friends who have them, Dave Chong and others, they're super warm. And I'm like, that's not me. Like, once I get going, man, I'm a sweaty mess. So I would rather wear layers. And so I wear my base layer. I wear a good fleece hoodie with a big hood on it. And the hoods on these new ice suits, like your clams included, they're awesome, man. Like the hood itself is actually like fleece lined, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing to wear. But I need to be able to get that heat out, because when you're trudging through that snow, and you want to wear proper breathable clothing, because you can get hypothermia if you're going to sweat and work too hard in the snow. I've been there. I've snowshoed into back lakes in the Halliburton Highlands and in Bancroft area for brook trout. And when you get in there, it's like, see people building a fire. I do that because I'm sweaty and I'm cold now and I have to warm up again, So I really recommend people, use your snowshoes if you need to. And also, like, just dress. You need to dress for the weather. And if you can invest in some good breathable base layers, some good breathable Gore-Tex, even if you have just a Gore-Tex fishing suit, but you can wear layers underneath. If it's not a flotation suit, wear a PFD. I see some people now, Scotty, that are wearing old school Carhartt, bibs, but they've purchased like a clam or a striker jacket, with flotation built into it, which I think is a smart compromise too.
It is. Yeah, it is. And I was thinking about getting a jacket, but I'm like yourself, dude. And if you want to know what Jay and I are talking about, put on about 100 pounds and then go running around in the snow. You'll know exactly what we're talking about. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. Just tying everything down. By the time I got in the truck to drive away, and I literally had a t-shirt on, I was soaked. So yeah, and needless to say, this past weekend was not warm by any means. It was pretty chilly, but yeah. If you don't protect yourself, you don't stay out of the wind, and you don't dry off the proper way, you're going to get pneumonia. Never mind COVID.
Yeah, and if you're gonna, and always think about what you're going to be doing, because if you're going to be trudging out in the ice, regardless of conditions, if you're going out in the ice and you're actually going to be planning to fish in the open a lot, that's a different type of preparation than I'm going to get out to a spot, set up my hub or my shelter, and I'm going to be in my shelter most of the time. Those are two different styles. Do not go into heavy layers of clothes if you're planning on getting out to your hub and camping out in it all day, because the weather is really tough. Like, it's a bit of a balance. It's a bit of a balancing act, but prepare yourself for it. But yeah, with the snow now, I can't stress enough about having a good sled, and a Smitty sled is something that if you are on foot, it's great to have. And also too, like a good tip for your Smitty sleds, because I beat the hell out of mine, Scotty. It's an Erie Secret sled. Shout out to Erie Secrets. I got one of their prototypes when they were first building them, and I had to pick this up because it was awesome. But one thing I had to get is some all temperature wax, and the skis on this thing, because who's done it, man? You get to the lake and you got to drag your sled across the parking lot, and it's gravel. You don't mean to drag it too far, but sometimes you can't drop your stuff off right at the ice edge. You got to drag it. So some good ski wax, for $20, you get some all temperature ski wax, ice your skis. And if you're not going to ice your skis, ice the bottom of your shelter. If you're pulling out a flip over style shelter, it's got the runners on it. And please, if you do have a flip over, please tell me you've invested in the runners, because I have literally, when I was a younger person, not as smart, I literally wore holes in the bottom of sleds because I didn't invest in those plastic runners on the skis for your sleds. So wax is a beautiful thing, and it makes a ton of difference on the skis, big time.
Great advice, Jay. What have you got upcoming? Anything that we should be watching for now that you took a rest from social media and your phone and the rest of the world?
Oh, so I gotta show my favorite bloodworm.
There it is, the bloodworm. Yeah, baby.
So those are the Berkeley whipworms. The red one is obviously red. The other one's called natural, or like a motor oil color. And man, I love those things. And what's nice about these ones, is they're 1.5 long, but I could cut them down to size. And so typically what I'm doing to imitate a bloodworm is I'll use a plastic like that, but then I'll still tip a maggot. Now, Jim and I were talking today, and I bet you I fish with maggots for panfish 90% of the time, 95. I hate using minnows. I really do. It's a hassle to have to get them. I got to take care of them. Maggots, well, so Matt, I'm going to give a shout out to Matt's Maggots, okay? H&H Tackle in Brantford. He sells them in the 1,000 pack for $20, 1,000 maggots. I have a maggot farm in my garage, buddy. So if you need maggots, you just come on over. And they last, they just don't get them wet. Keep them in a little pocket, keep them in your pocket. So we're gonna do some more pan fishing this week, and we're gonna take advantage of some microplastics and maggots. And then I'm going to Quinny this weekend one more time. Nice. Been planning a guys' weekend with a couple buddies from university, So everyone knows I'm 47 now. So we're talking, I've been fishing with these guys for over 20 years. I've been fishing with these guys. These are my good buddies. There's going to be some whiskey. There's going to be some cigars. Cigars on the ice, whiskey not on the ice, just so everyone knows. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm taking Trevor this time. Trevor's coming with me. I can't leave the kid at home. I can't go to bed Quinny and not bring him. Like, you just go nuts, right? So the goal this weekend,
whiskey and like the cigars.
Well, my buddy did ask, how old's Trevor? Is he able to drive us around? I said, well, maybe in Prince Edward County the rules are different, but because my one buddy lives right near Picton.
That's awesome.
So we're doing that this weekend, and honestly, we're just going to try and get out as much as we can as long as we have ice. But the weather's going to warm up this week a little bit down here. It's going to get +3 on Wednesday, which doesn't bother me now. It's not going to affect the ice. I'm just worried about all this snow, and it's not going to make the ice dangerous. It's just going to be a hassle to deal with. But we'll get out. Where are you going to fish, man? What are your fishing plans? I'm going to ask you.
To be honest with you, I'll probably go to my Lake X, as they say. Was out there on Sunday, and the ice is thick, which is good. It's black ice, but I'll tell you, Jay, if anything, it was just nice to get out. So, for all you folks like Christina, like yourself, and Mike Howard, who are out enjoying the hard water, running CFN is a full-time gig. I signed up for it. I totally knew what I was getting myself into, but I live vicariously through you folks. And I thank you so much for sharing all of your content as you do, Jay, and the rest of you. Because as I said, sometimes it's not conducive to get out, but I tell you, Sunday was it was so wonderful. It was exhausting, gathering everything up and getting ready and getting cameras and this, that, and everything else. But it was cool, man. It was exactly what the doctor ordered. I don't know if I'll be able to get out this weekend as I start on call, but it is what it is. I look forward to seeing all of your content, whether it's got whiskeys or cigars, dude. I'm in. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, man. Like I was saying to Stephanie today. So today was actually supposed to be a PD day for Stephanie's school. Okay, so this was scheduled weeks and weeks and weeks ago, before COVID, the new COVID, whatever, and snowmageddons, as I call it. So Stephanie and I had big plans to go ice fishing today. And up until today, the ice was like glare ice. Like you had to wear your cleats. Nothing better than watching a 14-year-old teenage son he's using my Eskimo hub as a kite because he forgot his cleats in the van. It's not very helpful, right? Has anybody on the call ever bought something for their kid to use for something like very specific, and then you get out there and you're like, where is the thing that I bought for you for this purpose? Oh, I left it there. Okay, well, so there's Trevor in a wind trying to hold down a hub, and I had to anyways, he's helpful. But I said to Stephanie, I said, ice fishing is not like just going down to the pier and casting a line. You got to bring, my daughter is not like Trevor. She likes her comforts. She likes warmth. She likes snacks. She likes fish, and probably in that order. Okay, so I got to schlep the hub, the propane, the seats, and so I said to her, I got to bring your brother with Like, it can't be daddy-daughter time unless we get a really nice day, unfortunately. But we can send Trevor out. He likes to go whole hop anyway, so we can send him out and let him. But Trevor is at the age now, which is actually fantastic, where he can literally lift his own weight. Like, we can do it together now, whereas a few years ago it wasn't like that. So it's great to have kids, man, because eventually they can like.
Absolutely,
He's not
man.
as strong as dad yet, but he's getting there. So
every good golfer needs a good caddy. So yes,
man.
to all you caddies out there that help out us older gents and us older ladies, we really appreciate that. Jay, as always, my friend, thanks for joining us and bringing a wealth of knowledge as always to our community.
And Scottie, good luck. Hey, bud, good luck with the ATV tonight and clearing the driveways. I did a bunch today. I'm gonna keep my Ryan Coke here, and I'm gonna have another one for you. So thanks,
Right
Scottie.
on, dude. Appreciate it, my friend. Thanks, Jay.
Yeah.
Enjoy your week, dude. Well, folks, that brings us to the end of yet another CFN Live. Thanks so much for all of you for joining, all your great comments and helpful. The conversations that I see that go on as the live is also running in parallel. It's awesome. But join us on Thursday. As I mentioned, Cameron Tate is joining us right now. He just chimed in. We are going to be talking about stoves. It's a recent In-Fisherman article that he wrote. We're going to be talking about the most economical, the most efficient, the easiest to purchase, the easiest to use, and the most beneficial, especially if you are cooking out in the wilderness, whether you're camping or doing a fish fry. Join us on Thursday, 6 o'clock our time, 7 o'clock Cameron's time. And there is, Tony, listen up, there is a giveaway. To all of you watching the football game, cheers to you. I'm going out to plow some snow. Enjoy your week. We'll see you Thursday. All the best, guys. Yeah, baby.